The dragon's Hellcat ch. 7. Upon suddenly seeing the Ouroboros dragon god Ophis at the foot of his bed, Issei wanted to scream, but he remembered the girls that were sleeping around him and didn't want to wake them, so he stopped himself. He hesitantly asks, "Hello Ophis, what are you doing here?" "Watching you," the dragon god responded blankly. "I can see that, but why are you watching me?" asked Issei. "I sensed a change in your power and piqued my interest. You're no longer a devil," Ophis replied. "Yes, I'm a fallen angel now," said Issei. "Why?" asked the dragon god. "Long story," said Issei plainly. "Tell me," said Ophis, tilting her head. After a heavy sigh, Issei explained the circumstances that lead up to him and Kaneko becoming fallen angels, and everything up to this point. Ophis just stared at him, listening, tilting her head. "Why did you forgive them?" asked Ophis plainly. "I guess I realized that it wasn't their fault. They didn't know, plus I heard how far everyone fell due to my absence, and it made me realize I may have overreacted. Plus if it wasn't for Rias, I probably would have never met my girlfriend Kaneko, and our relationship probably would have never happened," said Issei, looking down at the small cat girl sleeping on his chest soundly. Ophis didn't know why, but the mention of a relationship piqued her interest. Later she would ask Issei more questions regarding his relationship with the cat girl, also why mortals seek such things like love. After Issei carefully slipped out of the girl's grasps, he walked outside the room while Ophis followed him. They went outside and sat under a tree. As much as Ophis wanted to learn more about Issei, he also wanted to understand her better as well, so he decided to take her to where they could talk alone. "Hey Ophis," he said, suddenly causing the dragon god to look at him. "Why did you create the Chaos Brigade?" asked Issei. "To get rid of Great Red. He took my home, the dimensional gap, and I want it back. Great Red is noisy and annoying. I like silence," said Ophis in her usual monotone voice. "I see. What if I helped you achieve silence, but in a different way? Like I can offer you a place in my home and you're welcome to stay as long as you want. I'm your friend after all. But you'll have to give up on the terrorist group." "Different way?" asked Ophis, tilting her head. "What if you were to manifest yourself and become my sacred gear alongside DxD? After all, my soul is a pretty quiet place," said Issei, adding the last part in a joking tone. "Absorbing my power would most likely kill you. After all, I am infinite, but I suppose it's not impossible. You were able to absorb Albion, no problem," replied Ophis, looking down for a moment. "And you'll be able to talk to me more inside my head like DxD does. It's not the dimensional gap, but you'll at least be surrounded by silence like you want," added Issei. Ophis continued to think for a moment. "Okay, I'll give up the Chaos Brigade, and will become your sacred gear," said Ophis in her usual emotionless tone before a dark aura surrounded her and then moved next to her, creating an exact clone of Ophis, except she was smaller and had her hair tied in a ponytail. "I shall remain in the physical world as well, through my clone Lilith," added Ophis, causing Issei to look shocked and confused. "I will take my residence inside your soul with DxD as my roommate, giving you my power and his. Lilith will remain in the physical world in my place. I will feel what it feels. Lilith is an exact copy of me, so she will fill in for me in the physical world while inside of you," explained Ophis, causing Issei to understand better. "I see. So what now?" asked Issei. The original Ophis, without letting him finish, had changed into a black and purple mist and began entering Issei's mouth and nose. His body started convulsing as if trying to push Ophis back out. After a few more minutes of Issei shaking on the pavement under the tree, Lilith just watched the process, not saying a word. Issei's breathing picking up, his veins throbbing, his eyes rolling to the back of his head. He's shaking like crazy as if he's having a seizure. Laying on the ground, clenching his fists, screaming his lungs out from the pain. However, nobody could hear him but Ophis and Lilith, because of the barrier placed around them. Dark purple veins popping out of Issei's face and all over his body, throbbing. 30 minutes later. After Issei's body adjusted to the new power, and his breathing started to go back to normal, Issei had opened his eyes, looking to his left hand to see that his normally red gauntlet had changed. It was now the darkest shade of black. The parts of the gauntlet that were normally gold were now red, and the jewel was now a dark purple. His body had gone through a slight change too. His hair was now naturally black, his eyes had changed to the same empty gray as Ophis and Lilith's eyes. "Issei, in order for it to have worked, I had to mix your DNA with my own and essentially erase your human side. This making you 50% dragon god, and 50% fallen angel, so basically you're a dragon god fallen angel hybrid now, and you still happen to possess DxD, explained Ophis inside Issei's mind. And that means? Asked Issei, still checking himself, looking at his palms. You'll still be able to use balance breaker and all of the attacks you've acquired with DxD, and with some training you should be able to master some of my abilities as well, said Ophis inside his mind. I see, said Issei before materializing his dragon wings, which were now a perfect mixture of black, red, and purple. He had also manifested his fallen angel wings, which still retained their black and red look, but now there were small hints of purple in the feathers. After testing out his powers and being satisfied, he then took the watching Lilith's, who had changed her body size, aging herself up to be around Ravel's size and age, hand and lead her back into the house where the girls were surprisingly still asleep. He lead Lilith down to kitchen and searched the pantry. Grabbing a bar of chocolate, he unwrapped it and gave the block to Lilith, who began munching without hesitation. Issei also decided to cook breakfast. He had made pancakes, waffles, eggs, bacon, sausage, and fruit smoothies to drink for everyone. Looking over, he could see Lilith had finished the chocolate bar rather quickly. He decided to make Lilith a plate of food, then placing it in front of her, handing her a fork, she began to eat. Soon enough the other girls woke up, and started heading downstairs. Upon spelling breakfast, they were taken back upon seeing Ophis there. "Oh Lord Issei, why is Ophis here?" asked Ravel in an intimidated tone. Kaneko was the first to notice Issei's now empty gray eyes. "Issei, what did you do?" she asked. And so Issei explained everything that happened since he woke up this morning. "You did what?" asked everyone in surprise. "I absorbed Ophis into my sacred gear. This here is Lilith, Ophis's clone created by Ophis herself," explained Issei. Tilda pow. Tilda Kaneko had punched Issei in the gut, causing him to gasp for air. "Why?" he asked in pain. "You could have been killed, you moron," said Kaneko while glaring at him. "You could have at least told us your plan so we take the necessary precautions in case something went wrong," said Ravel. "So does this mean the Chaos Brigade is done?" asked Kuroka. "I won't be leading the Chaos Brigade anymore. However, I can't really stop them from doing what they please," said Ophis from Issei's arms, speaking out loud. "But if they try anything, I'll destroy them," said Lilith, which everyone understood. "Well, since you now possess Ophis, as well as DxD, what should we call you now?" "Simply just calling you the Red Dragon Emperor won't do, nya, especially since you're technically a dragon god now," asked Kuroka. This prompted everyone to think for a moment. "How about Red Ouroboros Dragon God?" suggested Ravel. "Red Dragon Emperor of Infinity," tossed in Katace. "Ouroboros Red Dragon," said Murayama. "Red Dragon of Infinity," said Kaneko. Everyone seemed to like Kaneko's suggestion. It was simple but at the same time a bit intimidating. So everyone sat and had breakfast before another day of training. Issei wanted to learn to use some of Ophis's abilities, which Lilith taught him. He learned to use snakes to give someone power, as well as using snakes to take power away. He had learned Ophis's shapeshifting ability, the power of blessings, telepathy, telekinesis, reality warping, and soul manipulation, both of which Issei decided he wouldn't use unless absolutely necessary. Katace and Murayama spent their time perfecting the skills and abilities they had learned. Gura spent the day streaming like yesterday. Ravel spent the day like yesterday coming up with strategies to use against Sona and her team. Kaneko and Kuroka spent their time sparring and perfecting Kaneko's senjutsu abilities. Ayane spent her time in between meditating and relaxing. After a week of training, the team decided to head home early, and the girls wanted to go on dates with Issei, so to settle this Ravel used the wheel again, adding Lilith to it, who wanted to experience a date as it piqued her interest after Ravel explained to her what a date was. First, Ayane. Second, Murayama. Third, Kaneko. 4, Irina. 5, Ravel. 6th, Kuroka. 7th, Gura. 8th, Lilith. Last, Katace. Ayan's date with Issei. Issei knew Ayane was into spas and food, so he decided to take her to a restaurant, spa, and sightseeing in Kyoto. Early in the morning, Issei and Ayane headed to the train station. Upon arriving at the train station and boarding the train, Issei and Ayane sat at a seat next to the window. Soon enough the train began rolling. Both were a bit nervous, Issei because of Ayan's usual cold demeanor, but he was able to deal with it rather well due to Kaneko being his girlfriend, Ayane being nervous due to never going on a date before. Once arriving in Kyoto they checked into their hotel room. Once they were settled and they headed to the restaurant. Once they were at the restaurant they were immediately brought to their table due to Issei making the reservation beforehand. Once they were at their table and had ordered their respective meals, they began chatting. Tilde music start. Nakama tilde. So Ayane, how are you liking Kuo so far? Asked Issei aiming to start a conversation. It's different, it's a really quiet town except when it's not. The people seem nice, especially your friends, replied Ayane. Hey, they're your friends too. Hell, we're all family, said Issei with a smile. Anyways, I wanted to thank you, said Ayane. For? Asked Issei with a puzzled look. All of this, showing me a world somehow less chaotic than what I'm used to, taking me into your home when you didn't have to. Doing exactly what you said you would, you took me in and gave me a family that didn't just see me as a weapon, or treat me like an outcast, and for this date too, said Ayane honestly with a small smile. Oh, it's no problem at all, I'm glad that you're happy here, I wouldn't want it any other way. There's really no need to thank me, said Issei honestly. So Issei, I've been meaning to ask you something, said Ayane. What is it? Replied Issei. When you took us to meet your other friends like the red-headed girl, you gave her what I would assume were your old evil pieces. What led up to you leaving her in the first place? Asked Ayane looking at him. And so Issei told his story, all the events that lead up to him becoming a devil, and the events that lead to him and Kaneko becoming fallen angels. I see, does she still haunt you now? Said Ayane. Not recently, but sometimes I can't help but still sometimes think about that day. Kaneko has helped me a lot, but thanks to Rainer I still sometimes wonder if it's all a trick, if one day it's all gonna end the same way as it did on that day, said Issei. I don't think you have to worry about that, she seems very devoted to you, she even became a stray along with you, could have turned on you at any moment when you were at your lowest, but she stuck by you, and is still sticking by you. Don't you think if she wanted to hurt you she would have already? Replied Ayane. Not to mention you're probably one of the strongest beings in existence now, you're not only the Red Dragon Emperor, the possessor of DxD, but you're also the possessor of the Ouroboros Dragon Office, you're far from what you were back then, she added with a look of honesty. I guess you're right, said Issei. Soon after their food had arrived and they began eating. Tilde after dinner at the restaurant Tilde. Issei paid for the dinner, and they decided to head out. Next was sightseeing. He took Ayane to see all of the places he visited when on his school trip, which Ayane seemed to like, he couldn't really tell. Tilde finally the spa Tilde. Hey Issei, can you give me a massage? Asked Ayane looking at him with a bit of a blush. Sure, said Issei, placing a barrier around the room so no one would enter. Ayane then stripped down and laid face down on the massage table. Issei put some of the lotion on his hands, rubbing them together. He then started to massage her back, starting with her shoulders. His firm hands on her soft back caused Ayane to let out a soft moan in pleasure. He slowly started making his way down her back, stopping just above her ass, going back up, pressing on her back as Ayane continued to moan. Suddenly she flipped onto her back, pulling Issei on top of her, planting a kiss on his lips. Take me, she said, eyes full of lust. Tilde scene change Tilde. After Issei and Ayane had sex in the spa room, they headed back to their hotel room for several more rounds through the night. Tilde the next day Tilde. Issei and Ayane woke up in each other's embrace before getting dressed and ready for the train back home. For Maruyama's date he took her shopping, and out for dinner. For Kaneko's date they traveled to the US and Issei had tickets for ringside seats to WWE Survivor Series War Games. They also went to various American restaurants. They also had lots of sex in their super expensive hotel suite. For Irina's date he took her out to dinner, shopping, ice cream and a walk in the park. He didn't realize it, but it was the same date plan he had for Rainer Yuma. He took Ravel shopping, dinner, and a Japanese art museum, as well as to a local dock to watch the sunset. He took Kuroka to dinner, and to the movies to see Black Panther. They also had lots of sex in a local love hotel. He took Gura to a local convention and to dinner. A lot of people recognized her from YouTube. He took Lilith to a local buffet. She cleared out the entire restaurant, and ate so much it would put Goku to shame. He had also took her to a local carnival where she consumed more food. They went on various rides, and played various games. One that she liked most was a game where you shoot a red dragon which resembled Great Red, showing that Lilith carried Office's hatred for Great Red. She was so good at the game the guy running the game thought she was cheating and had to kick her off of it because she would have won all of his prizes. For Cadis's date he took her out to eat, shopping, to an arcade, and ice skating where Catace gave him her first kiss. The Dragon's Hellcat ch.8. Tilda the night before battle Tilda. Issei left the house alone for a few hours to go on a walk, not really paying attention to where he was going. He ended up at the same fountain where Rainer had killed him. Surprisingly though he was rather calm. "Is this?" asked Office inside his mind. "Yeah," replied Issei. "I think I'm finally ready to put it behind me. What Ayane said was true, and I refuse to let one bad experience ruin everything I have now. I'm grateful for all of them, every last one, especially Kaneko. If it wasn't for her I don't know what I would have done that night, most likely something I'd regret. I might have never trusted anyone again," added Issei. "What would you do if given the chance to face her again?" asked Office. "I honestly don't know. I'd probably let her go, unless she hurt someone else I care about," replied Issei. "What if I wiped your memory of her? Would that help?" asked Office. "I don't know, I want to forget but at the same time I don't. I mean it's because of what she did to Asia that drove me to grow stronger to protect the people I care about," said Issei. "I see," replied Office. "I should probably head back, it's getting late," said Issei, starting the walk back to his house. Tilda scene change Tilda. When Issei arrived home he was greeted first by Irina, followed by all of the girls wearing see-through lingerie. "Welcome home Issei," said a cheerful Irina, wearing a see-through white black and panty set. "Yes, welcome home Issei," said Ayane, wrapping her arms around his neck from the side wearing a sexy bunny costume. "What's going on?" asked Issei, admiring all of his beauties. "It was my idea, we wanted to make you happy before the fight against lame-ass C-Tree team," said Kaneko, wearing the same red and transparent white lingerie her and the girls wore the night before the fight with Diodora, the skirt hanging loosely on her waist showing her blue panties, her red dragon necklace sitting nicely into her now developing breasts, clinging to Issei's other side, wrapping her arms around her waist. Gura was wearing a blue one-piece with her trademark shark teeth logo on her side. Catace wore a white and pink polka dot two-piece. Murayama wore a black transparent two-piece with a present bow on the front of her panties. Lilith wore a simple black two-piece, copying Kaneko. She clung to Issei's front. Ravel wore a blue transparent two-piece. "Thank you girls, but you really didn't have to this." "So Issei, whose set do you like best?" asked Office from his arm out loud, prompting the girls to look at him waiting for an answer. This caused Diedreg to laugh maniacally inside his mind. "I love them all, I can't choose," said Issei with a smile. "Well, I'm sleeping with my Issei tonight," said Kaneko, clinging to him tighter. "Me too," said Ayane. All of the other girls wanted to sleep with Issei as well, which like usual caused them all to start arguing. Kaneko between inches away from two-piecing Ravel, Catace and Murayama almost came to blows with each other. Ayane, Gura, and Lilith just sat there watching the chaos. "Well, why don't we expand the size of the bed so you all can sleep with me tonight?" said Issei. Everyone agreed. Tilda the next day, the raiding game Part 1 Tilda. Issei and the peerage arrived at the battlefield which, like with the fight against Riser, was a replica of the school grounds. Their base was Org, Sona's was the student council room. "Alright, let's have fun and whoop some sophisticated ass," said Issei. "Yes," everyone replied in unison. "Ayane, remember, don't kill them," said Issei to the purple-haired ninja who was sporting her black hooded leotard with a white chest plate. She nodded. Like Bane once said, let the games begin. Tilda music start. War pigs Tilda. Ayane opened the window and jumped out onto a nearby tree, prompting Catace and Murayama to follow, which they did. Gura with her trident in hand tapped it on the ground, causing a flurry of bubbles to surround her. When they popped she was gone and she teleported to the gym. Kaneko and Kuroka left out the back door disguised as normal cats. Issei and Ravel stayed back at the Orc for the time being, each understanding the plan. Rias and her peerage, along with Lilith, could be seen watching from the stands. Pav, Ayane, Katase, and Murayama. Ayane, Katase, and Murayama could be seen sticking to the shadows, as Ayane led the way following the key of Saji. Soon enough she spotted him, accompanied by Tomoe. They were headed toward the orc, attempting to be sneaky. Ayane sent a nod to the two kendo girls. Ayane then threw an exploding kunai at the ground in front of the pawn and knight of the Sona peerage. Soon enough, boom. It exploded, causing Saji and Tomoe to jump back. Music changed. Prismatic butterfly, Ayan's theme, Ayane, Katase, and Murayama then jumped from their branch in front of Saji and Tomoe. Katase, Murayama, what are you two doing here? Asked Saji in surprise. We're Issei's pawns, said Murayama, drawing her katana. And your opponents, said Katase, drawing her katana as well. And who are you? Asked Tomoe. I'm Ayane Mugen Tenshin, Issei's knight. Prepare, replied Ayane, drawing her dual Fumakodachi. Well, I'm Meguri Tomoe, knight of Sona Sea Tree, replied Tomoe, drawing her blazing shining aura darkness sword. And in case you didn't already know, I'm Saji Genshiro, pawn of Sona Sea Tree, said Saji, summoning his Vritra sacred gear on his arm. Both sides got into battle positions, waiting for the other to make the first move. Suddenly Saji dashed at the two kendo girls, sending a punch toward Katase, which was blocked by her free hand. Katase responded by sending a spinning back kick to Saji. He dodged it. Murayama then threw a right punch to Saji, who managed to block. Saji and the two kendo girls kept exchanging blows and countering each other. Pav, Ayane. Meanwhile, Ayane dashed at Meguri, performing a 360 clockwise spin. Ayane sent her right kodachi down toward Meguri's head, but he blocked it with her blade, pushing Ayane back. Ayane responded by performing a counterclockwise spin, sending a side slash with her left, but it was a fake. She stopped halfway, prompting Meguri to reach to block it, resulting in Ayane jumping and kneeing her clean in the face crack, sending Meguri crashing to the ground. Meguri got up and charged at Ayane once more. Jumping in the air, she sent a downward slash at Ayane, which she effortlessly dodged. Sheathing one of her kodachis, Ayane responded with a backwards open palm strike toward the back of Meguri's head, which she vaulted away from before getting back to her feet and running at Ayane once more. Ayane didn't wait as she ran at Meguri. Using her momentum, Ayane performed a cartwheel, sending a kick toward her head. Meguri blocked it, however, while still on one hand, spinning from being pushed back with one of her kodachis in hand. Ayane slashed Meguri's leg, cutting her. Continuing to spin, Ayane pushes herself feet first, kicking her in the gut, sending her falling backwards into a tree. How boring, said Ayane nonchalantly, taunting Meguri as she got to her feet once more. Meguri rose to her feet once more, using all the speed she has, sending a series of slashes. Ayane dodging each attack traps Meguri's sword between her Fumakodachis and knees her right in the gut, landing a critical blow, disarming her. Ayane wasted no time, sheathing her swords and covering her hands in a pink aura. She spins, beating Meguri with a series of punches and kicks to her face and stomach before kicking her, sending her back. Wasting no time, Ayane performing a series of gestures with her hands imbues herself in a massive pink aura. On Basara Yakusha-un, she says before firing, engulfing Meguri in a shockwave of Ninpo energy, knocking her out. Knight of Sea Tree peerage retired, announced Graphia. Meanwhile, Pav, Katase and Murayama. Katase and Murayama were keeping up with Saji rather well. In fact, they were managing to push him back. Their attacks, perfectly coordinated, made it hard for Saji to keep up. Eventually Saji jumped back, managing to create space before firing his absorption lines. He caught Katase and Murayama, but after struggling for a bit, they focused their holy aura into their katanas and cut his lines, causing him to fall backwards. They both promoted themselves to knight and used their speed to dash toward the grounded Saji, swinging their swords downward at incredible speed. Saji barely managed to roll out of the way before getting back to his feet, but they didn't let up. Katase stepped onto Murayama's hand, and Murayama spun Katase at insane speeds and threw Katase at Saji. As Katase flew at Saji, she sheathed her katana and promoted herself to rook and cocked her fist back, preparing to throw a punch directly into Saji's chest, but Saji promoted himself to knight and quickly dodged, sending Katase flying past him, quickly repositioning herself to land on her feet. Little did Saji know that was just a distraction to get him to turn his attention away from Murayama. As Saji was preparing to attack Kata's back, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. He looked down to see the end of a katana blade covered in holy energy coming out of his stomach. Murayama had stabbed him in the back with her katana, causing him to scream and cough up blood. But they weren't done. Kata's, while being promoted to Rook, started wailing on Saji with a series of right and left punches, causing him to fall to his knees due to the pain from the sword as well as the pinkett beating his ass. When Saji fell to his knees, Kata's kneed him clean in the face, causing him to start to fall backwards, but he was stopped by the foot of Murayama, who pulled her sword from Saji's back and pushing him with her foot, causing him to fall face first as the blue light started to cover his body before he was announced retired from Grafia. Tilda music change. Carnage by Jasmine Bean Tilda. Kata's and Murayama sheathed their weapons before walking away with Ayane, all with smirks on their faces. "Now let's watch and see how the others are doing," said Ayane. "We're gonna go watch the Nekomata sisters," said Kata's and Murayama, receiving a nod from Ayane. "I'll go watch Gura. I'm curious to see what kind of things she can do," replied Ayane, receiving a nod before they went their separate ways.